Headmaster Dr. McEwen, Deputy Headmaster Mr. Davis, Geography and AAP teacher Mr. Chad Sayers, invited guests, staff and fellow students. This year I've been lucky or unlucky enough, however you want to put it, to have two of my classes at collegiate. Now, to those who know me will probably tell you that I don't particularly enjoy my time at collegiate due to things such as missing many recess and lunches and having to take 4 sets of stairs to get to my health class, in which I'll add that I could use the lift, however I choose not to take that after I was called fat as I tried entering by some random collegiate girl at the start of the year. However, one positive I enjoy about collegiate is the big sign in the front entrance, which reminds me how many days left myself and the Year 12 cohort of 2022 have remaining in their school journey. The closer that number gets to the number this morning was 6 days. The closer that number gets to 0, the more you reflect on your time here at Hutchins and what has shaped your journey the most. When thinking about this, it was not necessarily a moment. It was more what has made my journey, and for me, it was the friendships and connections I've made here at Hutchins. I think there's a lot to be said in finding your place and space at school, and sometimes that comes from unexpected places and people. When I first came to Hutchins, I was a skinny kid with a massive mop of hair and a booming voice, which would drive teachers insane. Funny enough, some things don't change. Though as all new boys experience when they begin at a new school, finding a belonging is sometimes hard. For me, that was made a little harder from Will Hale, who on my first day at Hutchins made me go down the slide, in which I was unaware that there was a big puddle of water waiting for me at the bottom. I'd then spend the next half an hour in the bathrooms using the hand dryer in an attempt to not have to walk into class on my first day looking like I'd wet myself. I can happily say Will and I become good friends despite this. As my first year continued, I often spent my lunchtimes as a Year 3 playing cricket with the Year 6s on the oval, as that was the only thing I was interested in. I always thought of it being a bit strange, but I've come to realise that finding your belonging sometimes isn't clear or prescribed as we might think, and it sometimes requires us to explore other options than hanging out with people in your own grade. This idea continued in my school journey with cricket here at Hutchins. For the 3 years I was lucky enough to represent the school in cricket, I often didn't have many boys in my grade in the team. Despite this, I believe I found my true belonging in my time in the Hutchins cricket team, which became quite obvious in the change rooms after we lost the state final this year, which was my last game of school cricket. As those who have played in grand finals know, losing one isn't necessarily the best feeling you'll experience. As a group, we sat there in the change rooms, all very upset with the outcome of the result. But for myself and the other Year 12s in the room, Banger and Tom King, it stung that little bit more, knowing it was all over and that we were never going to have the chance to share those same memories again. Memories such as winning a state final against GYC in 2021 and proceeding to watch the GYC boys walk to their cars, where every single one of them had copped a $140 parking fine. Or being on the bus back from Launceston when the great Mr. Bishop somehow found himself on the wrong side of the road, driving into head-on traffic on the Midlands Highway. However, now looking back on these memories I made, I'm able to appreciate how lucky I was for the friendships I made with those boys over the years and prove to myself how the power of one common interest amongst us all resulted in the best of friendships. Even though barely any of these boys were in my grade, I learned that when it comes to making friendships, no one needs to restrict themselves to anyone, and that being open to different people is where the richness in friendships comes from. Now, as that last day looms, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about leaving school. I know we can all complain about school and how much we dislike much of the curriculum-based learning, such as writing about codes and conventions in thriller movies, or figuring out whether you're meant to be using sin, cos or tan in maths. But it's not until you get this close to leaving that you realise how lucky we are that school gives us that common connection of place and space to make friendships and spend time with our mates. Whether that is kicking the footy at lunchtime, figuring out the Wordle with the help of the great James Richards in AAP, or simply having a laugh with your mates. School gives us the opportunity to do all of that, every single day. With that being said, my advice to you younger boys in the room is as simple as make the most of your time you have left here. Don't restrict yourself to a certain group or place, rather make the most of the opportunity to broaden your relationships. Whether that is moving around at lunchtime, talking to people you don't usually speak to, or hanging out with people you just share genuine interests with. More likely than not, you're going to feel a lot better for it. Tomorrow morning, I'll walk through those same sliding doors at collegiate, and that number will be one day less. And while it's one day closer to singing that final Zeemala, as well as it being another day of me worrying if I'll get called fat if I stand anywhere near that lift, it is also one more day for all of us to appreciate the friendships and memories that we have all made in our respective journeys at Hutchins. So, I urge all of you in the room, whenever and wherever you are in life, work hard to maintain your friendships and never resist or ignore the opportunity to meet new people, because that is how you get the most out of your journey at Hutchins and life in general. I'll finish by saying thank you to all of my mates, whether that's boys who have finished, my friends in year 12, or those with years still to go. Thank you for making my journey at Hutchins so enjoyable and teaching me the true value of friendship. Thank you.